This movie opens with an unseen woman telling her two children a story about a wealthy merchant who, after losing his dear wife, lived only for the good of his 6 children, comprising 3 boys and 3 girls. She tells them that he had 3 ships, Mermaid, Triton, and Leviathan, and how these ships experienced a storm on a voyage and were engulfed by the waves, and their nets also tore, and as a result, these ships sank to the bottom of the sea. As a result, the merchant and his family's finances were ruined in under a month, and they had to leave their home and all their associations. Going bankrupt, the merchant's properties are taken away by their debtors. As they cart away some of their jewels and precious items, Clotilde and Anne, the 2 eldest daughters, run down the stairs and complain to their father. But when he scolds them to stop calling him Papikins in front of these men, Anne puts up a charade about dying as a result of their possessions being taken away. Instead, the merchant goes in search of Belle, his youngest daughter, while Clotilde and Anne get jealous about that. On the other hand, the boys Maxime, Jean-Baptiste, and Tristan are also packing some of their luggage into a cart. Tristan is called upon by an elderly woman to make sure he looks after the merchant and not to allow Maxime to squander the little money they have left, and she hugs him. Meanwhile, the sitter scorns them, making Maxime furious, but Jean-Baptiste cautions him. Meanwhile, the merchant who is still in search of Belle in the house finds her at their late mother's tombstone, paying her last respects and letting her know that they are starting a new life. In their new life, Belle is happy with the change, stays awake for the first few nights, and with her brother's help, they make the house into a fine retreat. One afternoon, while Clotilde and Anne complain about the house and their lives, Belle calls out to them, and they start to express their hatred for how joyful she is despite their lives. Belle calls out to them and tells them that they have to go and tend the garden, to which they reluctantly agree. While Belle tends the garden, the merchant rides back home on a horse with happy shouts. He tells his children that they were happy to see him at the shipping council, and that he was told that the mermaid ship, which was their mother's favorite, was found after drifting along the coast into the port still intact. Clotilde and Anne drool over a new life while the merchant tells Maxime to come to town with him so that he will present him to his friend, Dumont, as his successor. Tristan reads out a part of his novel offhand, but Belle leaves the room unhappy, making the merchant wonder why as he follows her. When he gets to her and asks her why she is sulking, she tells him that she prefers this place since it will reduce the bad behaviors of her siblings. Just then, Clotilde and Anne bring a long list of things he should get for them, but Belle asks for just a rose because she is not able to grow them in this place. When the merchant gets back to the shipping council, he is told by Dumont that his ship has been seized to repay his debt. This makes him sad, as he expresses how much of a help he has been to them. When Maxime hears Dumont, he tries to attack him, but his father stops him, making him leave his father there. As the merchant leaves, he comes across a lady in a bar named Astrid among a group of people foretelling events that may occur. He enters the room and asks the barman for Maxime. At the mention of Maxime, the attention of Perducas, who is Astrid's lover, is drawn to him, and the barman tells him that it is better he sneaks him out of the bar because he is not the only one looking for Maxime. Perducas comes towards the merchant and tries to attack him since they can't get to Maxime to get the debt he owes them. But the barman defends him with his barrel gun and wards Perducas and his gang off, taking the merchant to the back of the door to escape from them. On his way home in the waves of the cold, without Maxime, his horse trips off and gets injured, also making the merchant fall. He has no choice but to leave the horse there. While struggling to find a quick way home, he trips and finds himself in a castle containing all the good things and food he has not had for a while. He calls out to ask if anyone is there, but after his futile shouts, he starts to eat these foods, and mysteriously, the items on the long list his daughters gave him appeared before him, including his horse, which has now been mysteriously cured as well. But one item has not been received yet: Belle's rose. As the merchant goes back home, he sees a tree with rose flowers and plucks a stem out of it. As he does, a creature comes out of the tree and is angry at him for not being satisfied with the gifts he gave him, and for taking out his rose. The merchant then tells this beast that it is for his youngest daughter, but the beast tells him that he has to go and bid farewell to his loved ones, and to come back, he has to tell his horse these words, "more than life itself," so that the horse will bring him back to the beast. If not, he will kill all the members of his family. Just right after this, his sons locate him with their torches and take him back home. At home, they try to understand the whole scenario, and the other daughters start to insinuate that if not for the rose he took, this would not have happened. He cautions them and tells them that he has to go back quickly. If not, their lives will be taken instead of the rose, as said by the beast. Belle, who had not been in the room earlier, walks in looking sad. Later on, her dad tries to pacify her, but she says she will not be responsible for his death. So she leaves off with the horse after locking her dad in the room. After a while, she tells the horse the magic word, and the forest parts itself for them to move through. The horse leads them into the land of the beast. Belle walks through this land and finds a castle, so she walks in. While observing and feeling the expensive things she finds in the castle, a bell rings. Belle follows the sound of the bell, and at a point, she hears movements at her back and tells the beast that she's come to exchange her life for her father's. But the beast tells her to go and take a seat at the dining table. He then tells her to eat and gain strength to be able to walk around his castle, after which he forbids her to leave the castle. She tells him that she'd rather die now. But the beast applauds her bravery and tells her that she must be in that place every evening at 7 p.m. and that she should not try to escape because if she does, the forest will close in on her. Unknown to Belle, there are little creatures called Tadmus living in her bedroom with her. That night, Belle hears voices in her sleep telling her to go to the mirror when nothing has faded. In her dream, she sees a prince telling his princess that he and his men are still hunting the beast and are now closer to finding it. But later that day in the dream, the princess tells the prince, while he tries to make love to her, that she wants him to stop hunting the beast because she feels lonely while he goes out. He then agrees, but on the condition that she bear him a son. Then, Belle wakes up after this and gets terrified when she sees the beast who has been by her bedside. But he disappears almost immediately after. She finds a dress on the mannequin in her room and wears it out to explore the land she is in. Suddenly, she sees a deer and chases after it. After reaching a point, it disappears, leading her to the statue of the woman she saw in her dream. This makes her realize that some years or centuries ago, a woman had lived, loved, and died in that castle. So, Belle ran back to her room to wait for the ring for her daily meeting with her mysterious jailer. In the dining room that evening, she tells him not to come into her room again, but he tells her that he makes the rules there. She then tells him that she knows she is only filling the emptiness he feels in the castle, but he tells her that he can fulfill her however she wants. She then asks him how a beast like him can fulfill a woman like her. This gets him angry, and he says he knows who he is, and then leaves angrily. As she goes into her room complaining, she finds one of the Tad muses under her pillow. Terrified by this, she then sees a woven image of her made from wool and wood by one of the Tadmus. She tries to call them out, but they don't. So she places it by her bedside as she sleeps off. In her sleep, she hears voices telling her that she will show her how the prince turned into a beast, and she starts to dream again. In the dream, the prince dances with the princess and seeks to declare his heir, and she reminds him of a promise he made about the golden deer he's hunting. Belle also finds herself dancing with the prince in her dream. Soon, Belle wakes up again and walks around the castle, determined to unravel the mysteries of the beast while the Tadmus follow her. At the dining table that evening, the beast apologizes for the last night, but she tells him that she misses her family and wants to go back, but he tells her to forget about them. She then offers him a dance in exchange for seeing her family for a few hours, to which he answers. So, she dances with him like she danced with the prince in the dream. The beast suddenly asks her to love him, and she stops dancing with him and reminds him that he's only a beast dressed in princely apparel and will remain so, which makes him leave angrily, ignoring his promise to her. That night, she sees him walk up a staircase, follows him there, and finds him unveiling a painting of him, who was the prince and his queen, while he devours an animal. This scares her and she runs off. The beast pursues her and makes her fall, after which he tells her that now that she knows who he is, he hopes he'll not disgust her anymore. As he brings his lips together to lock them with hers, the ice they were on breaks, and she falls in, but he rescues her just in time. The next morning, the beast comes to her and gives her a rose, telling her that he will allow her to see her family once more and that she'll leave by dawn. He then gives her a necklace he made from the mysterious water to help her if anything goes wrong, and tells her that if she doesn't come back, he'll die. She leaves the castle and arrives at her house to find it in disarray. She asks them what is happening, and they start to point fingers at Maxime while he tells them to keep guarding the door. While in hiding, the sisters talk about their fears of not being taken as slaves for Maxime's debts. But as Belle goes over to them, they fear it's her ghost, but she dispels their fears and tells them that she is real and that she came to bid them a final bye. She asks for her father and they tell her that he's been sad and sick since she left. Meanwhile, Maxime and Jean-Baptiste find an expensive stone and resolve to search out where their father brought it from. Tristan opposes them, but they give him a punch that makes him sleep, so they gain access to the door. That night, Belle dreams again and sees the prince hunt the golden deer again, succeeding at it. In close contact with the golden deer, the prince realizes that it's his queen, and she tells him that she's the nymph of the forest and has the right to take on the form of a human to feel love. She then asks her father, who is the god of the forest, to spare him before she dies. Afterwards, terrifying noises come from the sky, saying that by taking out his daughter, he'll make the prince a beast, and that only a woman who would love him can save him. Belle wakes after this. Meanwhile, Maxime and Jean try to find their way to the castle, but they are stopped by Paducas and his men to get their money. but Maxime tells them that he can lead them to a castle where they can get more of the precious stones from earlier. Afterwards, Maxime says the magic word and the bush begins to open its paths. Meanwhile, Belle wakes up crying, remembers the potency of the necklace on her neck, and uses it to revive her father. Her father wakes up and is happy to see Belle, making all of them glad. As they approach the castle, Astrid senses danger, but Perducas doesn't seem concerned about it and leaves further towards the castle. Astrid hears a voice telling her to save herself and her lover from the danger ahead, and telling her to take the gold she finds. Belle tries to leave, but Tristan tells her that they've taken the horse. Back at the castle field, Astrid returns to Perducas with the gold arrow she got and tells him that they should leave since they have found what they have been looking for. Instead, he tries to harm her, but she tells him that she foresees death, and he tells her that they should make it Maxime's death. Afterwards, they force open the door of the castle, and they start to collect anything they find in the castle while destroying other things. Belle tries to go back to the castle with Tristan amid the thorns of the forest. She calls on the god of the forest to help her go back to the beast, and suddenly, the forest paves its way for her. As they try to leave with the spoils, they see giant creatures attacking them as they trample on them, thereby killing them. Not long after, Tristan and Belle arrive at the scene and rush towards them to stop these giants under the control of the beast from killing them further. Belle rushes to stop him from killing Maxime just in time. Perducas then uses this opportunity and takes Belle, putting a knife in her throat so that the beast will spare him. But Belle manages to escape from him and still stops the beast from attacking him. While she talks with him, Perducas stabs the beast in the chest, and he falls in pain. Then, the cloudy environment suddenly becomes very sunny and Belle calls out for help. The giants' bodies break off and tree branches start to grow and move everywhere. Soon, Perducas leaves Astrid and escapes. Belle and her brothers struggle not to get attacked by the moving branches, and soon they throw the beast into the mysterious water while the brothers continue to prevent the attack of the moving branches on them. Not long after, Belle removes the golden spear from his chest, and he comes back to life. She then tells him that they have missed their dinner, but he replies by asking her if she has the heart to love him, and she replies that she loves him. Suddenly, the branches begin to stop moving, and the 7 p.m. bell rings. Perducas, who is on his way out, starts to get curled up by the branches, and the beast's body transforms inside the pool while his pets come out to see him, putting an end to the story. Belle, who is the one telling her children the story, tells them that they went back to the old town where the brothers started printing and publishing books while the sisters get married to twins and the father opened a flower market. Later on, she walks up to the prince, who is now her husband, just as the bell rings and locks lips as her father watches them from afar.
Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like. It really helps the channel.